Welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia. I'm your host, Jacob Rest, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black. We're back, and we're playing with Power. We are going to be getting on track to the finishing out Super Mario World, or deep dive. Today will be a little bit of a shorter episode. Ryan and I decided we really, one, due to time and life, and another, we really want to just kind of get it back to a world-by-world basis. So we know that when we left off about a month ago, man, probably more than that, honestly, we are in the process of dealing with getting over the twin bridges, right? We did it. We went down to the soda level, in the water, found the secret that we did do, even though we're not going to cover all the secrets in our first run through. We did feel that was necessary. We're going to just finish out this world. And then that'll be today's episode. And then after that, when we get back next week, we will dive into the Forest of Illusion. But we wanted to take this time. We don't Radical Rex on these episodes, but we do want to Radical Rex today, just to maybe give us a little bit of a longer episode for you, because it won't be that long once we go through these few levels that we have to talk about. But Ryan, we can go ahead and get into what we are Radical Rexing about. And Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start us off, my friend? What is new and exciting to you?
Hey, yeah. So I've been sick. So when I've not been feeling like death and I'm on the mend, I've had a lot more time to just watch some videos and movies and things like that. So I got caught up on my X-Men side of Marvel stuff. So I finally watched Logan, and that was the last one that I needed to do. It was really good. I definitely enjoyed that movie. And then once I was starting to feel more than just watching something, like I started playing some games, and started on the new to me anyway, Pokemon Violet, the Indigo Disc DLC, and playing through a little bit of that, and having fun with that, and also playing a tiny bit of Disney Dreamlight Valley that Draco got for me. I've not really had the focus or drive to do like just daily tasks and things like Animal Crossing. I've not been in the Animal Crossing mood, but I've been kind of in the mood for like doing an adventure. And Pokemon DLC wasn't really scratching that itch for me. And so like I was hoping to get on sale. I was looking for Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion on Switch, because they had a pre-owned sale at GameStop for it was like $17 or something. And I finally found a pre-owned copy. In fact, I think it's probably Jacob's old copy that he traded in when he got it around Christmas time. It was at the East Washington Street, if it was. GameStop. So I picked that up.
I put it in disc replay at Castleton. Okay. But hey, you never know. Someone could have gotten it, take it down there.
But I was able to pick that up. I used my $5 off for having the Pro Rewards or whatever. So I got it for like $13. So
nice.
It was an actual case too. Like it wasn't like a generic case. So I've been enjoying that game. It's definitely been scratching the itch. It's mission based, and so bite size. It was meant for portable, like PSP originally. So like I can just go and I can hash, the attack buttons to go through enemies on shorter missions, and it's kind of scratching the itch that I wanted. And Pokemon wasn't quite doing that, so I've been having fun playing that game.
Cool. Is that it?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Well, to kind of piggyback off your Final Fantasy talk, really my life has just been Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm obsessed with the game, man. I mean, and it's really true. You can thank our show's artist, Nosh Crew guy, Kyle Martin. He really always pushed me to stop just playing Nintendo all the time. And everyone knows I bought a PS5 last year, and the experiences that I have had on a PS5, I will have to say, are far more emotional and deeper than they are on Nintendo. And that's not a slap in the face. I think Nintendo will always be my number one, my baby. They provide the most fun for me. But that's part of what I've always wanted, is a deeper and emotional connection to the stories I'm playing. And Nintendo does that sometimes, obviously. But they don't do it enough. And that's kind of where I go for my PS5. And Man, Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's just so amazing. I mean, I'm taken away. It's beautiful. It plays so fun. I cannot play older style JRPGs because they're hard RPGs, or they're not hard. They're just, to me, they're annoying. Getting stopped all the time, having to all the grinding it required. I really didn't like that. And today, a modern version is just so much more better, in my opinion. And I love that about it. And that's what's got me, one of the reasons it's got me hooked. But now that that got me hooked, the story really sinks in and it really develops. And it's beautiful. I mean, I got to chapter 12. And I kid you not, Ryan, I cried about 6 times throughout that entire chapter from different things that happened. I can't tell you the last time a Nintendo game has made me cry. Especially like some, like even like their big guns like Zelda or Metroid. Like I don't cry. I mean, when the baby died in Super Metroid, maybe, sacrifice, yes, I get some emotions. I have cried maybe a couple times at some Zelda games, but overall, I mean, I could put 4 Zelda games together, and I have cried more in one chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake than I did for 4 Zelda games. And that does speak to the nature of that. Something I complain about with Zelda, like you have this ongoing long story, but yeah, I don't feel these emotional connections to your characters. Sometimes I do. There are some moments that are sad. You're like, oh man, that was sad and that was emotional. But overall, Nintendo really lacks in the storytelling process, especially for Zelda. And I personally, I've always said this, something like Zelda, in my opinion, it should be the Final Fantasy story beat. It should feel the way I'm feeling right there. Tears of the Kingdom, no, none of that. I'm not going to go on a Zelda beatdown rant. I'm just saying that I've really just been invested in this. So invested that I bought Crisis Core as well this week for $30 on Amazon. Got it new. And it is funny. Yeah, I had this game and I traded it in, to get a PS5 because I hadn't played it. I hadn't played it yet. Honestly, I wasn't that excited. There was no emotional investment, but now I have an emotional investment in the franchise. And this is just cool, Ryan. This is really just like a fruition of the feelings that I had when I was a teenager and a kid. And like, I didn't have a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation. And I would always see those games on the shelves at like Game Crazy. And like, I remember seeing Final Fantasy 10-2, right? 10 got a sequel, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
had like the girl from it, and then it had like a trio of girls or something like that on the cover.
Hmm.
And I remember always standing like it was on when you go into Game Crazy, it would always be on if you walk into the little section walled off from the Hollywood Video, it would be to your left, immediately to your left on that wall. If you, I know you can envision it because we went there, and it would always be right there, and I would always like look at that and the other games. Like there were games I just always wanted to play, but didn't have a PlayStation, and I always just stuck with Nintendo. So um, I finally feel like I get to live those fantasies out, and it's awesome. I love it. I'm going to be pre-ordering the collector's edition steelbook case one with of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is about to come out in late February, right before the baby gets here. So it'll be a great paternity game, and I'm just loving it, man. I that's pretty much my main radical reaction right now. Just loving this stuff. So if
Awesome, man. So yeah, I enjoy seven. I prefer eight, but
we all know,
I
yes, yes.
I don't remember much from seven. It just didn't really stick with me. So I'm kind of happy that I'm able to play Crisis Core and get some of the story that I never got. And maybe I thought maybe going back to beginning origin will help me understand a bit more, or kind of connect a bit more with the main story when I do play Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff comes back, or like some of the references and stuff are like, oh yeah, hey, I kind of sort of remember this guy. I mean, I will remember any little bit or detail of Final Fantasy VIII, but yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. Just getting into the story, and I don't need something too serious. Um, Overall, I'm really excited that you're getting into Final Fantasy. Like that's a big thing. Like I mean, we had some emotional stuff. Like it got a little emotional with Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles if you actually spent the time to get through all of that. But
The only emotion I
you
got was
a taste of
boredom, anger that it sucked. I thought
you had to get pretty far in the story to get the emotional parts of it. But yeah, it was there. It's just it's different. Especially, I think some of these stories, it's good for people like who don't like JRPGs to get a retelling. And sure, I hope that we get other retellings of stories in the future for Final Fantasy stuff. But
even in the remake, I know it's got different story beats than the original game. Like this is kind of like a different timeline of the same game, and there's like stuff happening from the original timeline trying to affect this timeline, which is something that is still unraveling in the story as I play it. But yeah, overall, I love it. I'm glad I get to experience this, and will continue to experience it. And if you haven't gotten it, I highly, highly, highly recommend to go get it. It's great. I mean, there's only one weird part in the game, and that's all the honeybee stuff. That was by far the weirdest experience and thing I was ever forced to play through. But if you get past that, look past that, and then
it couldn't be that bad.
Oh, it was very awkward for me. So I felt the emotions Cloud probably felt, to be honest, which might be what they wanted to do. So, but overall, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So, well, with that said, I don't really have much more that I'm radical rexing about. I think we should go ahead and. Oh, I'm losing you. You're breaking up.
All right. I'm kind of curious to see what you think of what's to come in Final Fantasy and Red 13 and some of the other characters, Vincent, and Yuffie. I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, but I'm excited to see you get further in the story of Final Fantasy 7 and get the
Yeah, I am too. And you know what? I will also be getting the latest one. I played the demo of Final Fantasy last year, and for the newest game that they had, like it's like I think it's like
16,
something like that. One of those numbers. I have the demo still on my PS5, but I played that and that was fun, and it's very similar build to remake. So once I'm done with all the 7 stuff, I'll chew on that a bit. But all right. Well, Ryan, that's enough of my radical rexing. I think it is time that we finally get into Super Mario World, finishing off the Twin Bridges.
As established before, we're not going to be covering the top part of it's wrapped episode of Lake, and we're moving on into the cookie mountain side of things. We have got a couple of out here, and they're pretty busy. There's a lot going on in those levels, so I think we're definitely going to get a good episode out of it. Just filling in different things that we see in these. There's some new ways, some old enemies that you've seen throughout the game used in new ways, and giving them a little bit more of a difficulty to them. So it's definitely a difficulty spike here, but it's using existing assets to make things more challenging. So, all right. So we are going to go ahead and get into Cookie Mountain before moving on to the castle of this world. And right off from the bat, like you are assaulted by enemies that come at you fast.
Absolutely.
You've got Monty Mole that comes up out of the ground and pops up out of the ground and starts running towards you. And then you've also got a Koopa Troop without a shell, like sliding down a hill and like launching up in the air at you. Like so, you've got like some enemies come at you at different like levels, and you got to act fast. So like you can't just like sit there, start the level, and like, oh hey, I'll wait here a second before I get started. Like text on my phone or something after I start the level. You're gonna die. So I don't recommend getting distracted at that point. And then like as soon as you take out those 2 enemies, there's another Monty Mole that just pops right up out of the ground right after that, making things pretty challenging. And then you start getting into like the harder enemies, so to speak. Right, like you jump over a gap and suddenly you're faced with the sumo wrestler guy who's like stomping on the ground and
yeah, he's kind of like a Charge and Chuck a little bit. I mean, that's what he feels like.
Yeah.
You're right. I'd say this is a different level of intensity we hadn't even experienced yet at this point in the game.
Yeah,
because of what he
he's
does.
like, you like it's reminiscent of the Hammer Brothers from Super Mario Brothers, the first one,
Mm-hmm.
or like they're on a platform of question mark blocks. Whereas they would be throwing hammers, this guy like stomps on the ground and sends down a lightning bolt, and when it hits the ground, it's just like wall of fire
Yeah.
extending out from either side of him. So you got to kind of time it and run underneath and hit one of the question mark blocks to unseat him and take him down before the fire starts going on. And you can go above him, but you can't really do anything above him because he's got like a spike on his head, so you can't really jump on top of him.
Right.
And Yoshi's tongue does absolutely nothing to catch him. He's a force to be reckoned with.
Well, what's the secret? How do you take him out so easily if you're just a normal level Mario?
You have to get underneath of him and jump. I'm sure you can use like a fire flower if you want to be cheap about it, but I'm not even sure if fire flower works against him.
Not sure myself, but I'm sure it would. But yeah, I mean, you have to basically you have to move fast. You know, you have to move fast, and you have to time it just right, hit them, boom, and then that's how you take them out. Because the fire will drop down, and it even makes a little layer underneath you. So you got to be careful. Yeah. You could get to him at the right time, and then still get hit by that fire. So, yeah, he's dangerous.
Once you do get past him, you're immediately met with a Monty Mole. Like right, like no reprieve whatsoever.
A lot of Monty Moles.
You got to jump across pits. Monty Mole you got to deal with. You've got another Koopa Troopa like sliding down, launching at you on some hills that are just kind of set to where like you've got just a bunch of them just like running down, or basically just falling down. And then you come across, if you don't take out the Koopa Troopa in their underwear, he'll go over to the corner and grab a shell and start kicking the shell back and forth, instead of getting inside of it. Like he just kicks it. And it's so weird. But then like you get to this next part and it's just like it's like a maze. You've got you zigzag all the way down to get down below it. But as you're doing that, Monty Moles start popping out of the woodwork, out of the ground, out of the side of the hills. So you have all these Monty Moles that are like running back and forth as you're doing the zigzag motion. And then once you get to the bottom, if you haven't taken them out, you got a bunch of Monty Moles to contend with while trying to get out of this zigzag maze of platforming there. You have to you're forced into this little zigzag motion. Like you can't do anything to get around it. There's no way to fly over it or anything like that. So you just got to be careful.
You kind of just have to be patient. I mean, if you play through it, the moles will always go where you are. So you have to, they're going to run to the right if you're running to the right. So really the trick is be patient, let them run to the left, all collect on one side, and then make your way down. And then when they come down, you can time it right where you just jump right on their heads and take them all out right away. That's what I did, at least.
If you want to cheese it, you can grab that shell that's kicking around and just like launch it down and zigzag. It'll take out the enemies as you go along. But then you've got a gap you got to cross. You'll see some red switch blocks if you hit them. They'll help you get across that gap. Otherwise, it's a pretty large gap. And then you just got a bunch of Monty Moles like popping out of the hills. There's like five different Monty Moles they throw at you at once. Four of them popping out of the...
Should be called Monty Molehill, not Cookie Mountain.
Yeah. And then you've got like jumping piranha plants jumping up, and you come to this section where you get those sumo guys or whatever. They slam their foot down. There's like two of them, but they're up on like music note platforms, and you can't get up there at all.
No.
And so like you have to deal with these two that are launching fire down, and then there's also Monty Mole that pops up out of the ground. So like you've got a lot of things to deal with. Definitely ramped up difficulty level, and you've got a piranha plant that pops up out of a green pipe. But this is your halfway point. You can hit your halfway tape and save your progress. But then you've got a gauntlet of nonstop Monty Moles just like coming at you, popping out of the ground, out of the side of the mountain. Like it's it's chaos.
It's a mess. If you're lucky enough to survive, though, you'll for the blocks, hit the third block, you do get a piranha plant that takes you up higher to get a Yoshi coin, and then to the left, you get a 1-up because obviously this is not Ryan and I's first rodeo at this level, so we kind of know what we're doing with it. But if you need it, these extra lives will come in handy.
Yeah. It's really helpful once you get past this point. If you do have the red block at this point, the red switch hit, because you can get a hold of a Yoshi, which helps a ton getting through this level.
Well, geez, don't forget that. I mean, you can as soon as that part's done, though, you hit the pipe, hit down the pipe, and then you get launched up into the sky, or not launched. Sorry, if you as soon as you get past the extra life mushroom, you go down the purple pipe. It's going to take you in the water, and it doesn't. It's really weird here because first off, it drops you off into water. At this point, there's been no water at all,
Mm-hmm.
and then the current's taking you backwards. Normally, you're supposed to be going
Yeah.
forward. So I feel like I'm like backtracking in a way. And you got to be
Mm-hmm.
careful. It's the thing I hate with water levels. Especially it's because of Mario 3 and that giant fish that would eat me whole is what started this as a child. My fear of large fish and water. They even though these guys don't eat you, there's two big fish in the water and like puffer fish that we've seen before. But
Spiky, and if you don't have Yoshi, you have to pretty much just dodge them.
yeah, you have to dodge them.
Um,
You got to be careful because that current's moving fast. So you kind of got to have to like control your momentum as you do it.
yeah.
Get to the end, and then it finally gets you up top, and then we're like high in the sky, running across a bunch of clouds. So I kind of have a feeling if we do backtrack, and then like, but we're up above everything now, so we're like able to run across.
Yeah, and it puts you right back out where the start or the midway pole was.
Yep, that
So
makes sense.
you've made some. It's almost like you really shouldn't go down that pipe because it's actually like detrimental to your progress.
Backtracks you. You're absolutely
It's a
correct.
fake out, so it's difficult in that the level design takes you backwards. Like you lose all of your progress essentially. You're not really getting anywhere.
That's something new. They haven't really done that at this point. Like I said, this level already shows a ramp up in difficulty in villains for how much they're throwing at you. And then they give you a fake out, like you just said. And this isn't even a ghost house, and normally ghost houses
Yeah,
do that. This is just a regular, Cookie Mountain. But once you say you avoid all that, we do get you got a challenge. You got the big guys again coming across a bunch of blocks that you want to avoid getting hit on because they'll kill you. You really just kind of have to hope that you have everything like a power up or whatever to maybe avoid this onslaught. Because there's one
yeah.
in the middle and one on top, and you can get a mushroom again. But it would go across the pathway of death and fire. So you want to be able to make sure that you're equipped to take these guys out or to take a hit and push through.
They don't make this easy at all. You do have a real risk because this level is difficult. If you're a kid, like you're gonna want to take your time. You want to like wait for these Monty moles to do that thing that you need to do to get around them, and so like you've got you're gonna want to take your time, but you don't want to take too much time because you've got the timer on the level just counting down, and if you take too much time, you're gonna run out of time and die. So it's such a balancing act, and it's definitely one of those levels like you might have to play through several times to get the rhythm down before you're going to actually make any progress at all. Um,
Right.
and just get faster and faster at it, keep working at it, and you'll eventually get it. I do want to mention like that piranha plant that you come to right when after the reprieve, like shoots out like arcing fireballs on either side of it. So like even the piranha plants have gotten like more vicious in how they attack. It is not an easy level at all, and I think that is an indicator of what we're about to come to. Like this is the what marks the first half of the game's end and on to the next half of the game. So I think that the difficulty spike is definitely warranted. Before you come to the end of the level, like you're up against this charge and chug that like got like super jump or something, man. It's like leaps up in the air and like there's a huge arc and like you have to try to dodge him and like if you jump on him the one time he becomes a regular charge and chuck, but man, he is not nice. And you have like a block that you can hit, it'll get you on top of a giant or a really tall blue pipe And then you've got the end gold tape right there. So that wraps up our Cookie Mountain level, and on to the big bad castle of this area. We're gonna go to Ludwig's Castle, number 4.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I mean, we haven't come across it yet. I thought it was sooner than this, but Ludwig's Castle is so different, right? I mean, it from the moment you
It's almost like a ghost house.
Yeah, I mean, it's very claustrophobic. The moment you enter, I mean, the background is red. It's kind of like a hot lava brick is what it reminds me of. And you're just traveling through tunnels. It's like you enter that giant door and then you actually just crawl through a tunnel. And it's just full of hazards. It's full of skeleton. It looks like mummy, like I don't know, mummy turtle guys. And you're trying to avoid massive ball and chains in here. It's very claustrophobic and tight. I mean, it's not. Yeah, again, like what we said about last level. I mean, you can feel the level of difficulty ramping up.
For sure. And there's this one point in the ball and chain where like you either lose a power up or you have to run and like and crouch and slide underneath one of these
Right.
black balls to not get hit. It's so difficult. I actually just discovered a secret I never knew about this level. Apparently there's a false block before you go through the door where the power up is, and you could just jump above everything.
Oh, whoa!
I didn't know that was there.
Holy guacamole! Holy crap! See, kids, we're learning stuff as we do this. It's amazing.
And like, yeah, you can just like run along the top of the level. I don't know what the point of it is, but
I mean, it takes you to the minigame, the minigame of secrets where you get extra lives. Probably because it knows that they just made this really difficult. But
like if you go backwards, you don't really get anything for going backwards.
No,
if you have a cape, you can like fly through this stuff a little easier. But yeah, you go to this mini game. It's so weird that that's just randomly there. Like what in the world?
But it's cool. It's cool that you found that out too. But I mean, do the mini game real quick, and then it's glad that they give you a bunch of extra lives because it immediately throws you in Death's Doorway. As soon as you get done with that, the ceiling starts to come down. It's going to crush you. It's going to be a spike, a spike level. And you have to hit there's like an on switch that you have to hit beforehand to stop it. It sends it back up, but you're still jumping over pitch. You're avoiding all of this.
Yeah, fireballs jumping up out of the lava. Like it's not easy, and then it gives you like that tiny window to like run all the way through before it
correct.
Crushes you. And it kind of reminds me of. It gives me that very like Indiana Jones vibe.
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Maybe because that Indiana Jones trailer dropped this week. I don't know, but that's what I thought. And it doesn't matter if you take the minigame route or if you go down the regular door and you didn't see that. You still have. It takes you straight to the same room. So
yeah, and
you're not losing anything.
And this is a level. It's weird because you get through all this part, and then you get to this next part, and you're climbing on grates and fencing. And as long as you don't touch the ground, and you're like hitting these Koopa Troopas that are climbing along the fencing, like above, like on the head, like you're gonna get extra lives. So this is a place to get the most like extra lives in the game. Like besides like your top secret area, you keep hitting all of these different Koopa Troopas and getting extra life off each one. You can get a ton, and it just basically sets you up for the rest of the game. But it's kind of cool that they have that option. Watching for your time, of course, because you're getting a lot of extra lives, but also you can lose your time, start all over again.
This one is just more fun. I mean, there's so much more things. It's different. It doesn't feel like a traditional just run through the castle in the dark and avoid the bad guys in the lava. I mean, there's the whole wall gate, climb the fence thing is fun. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more appealing, more fun, more exciting. to do than just what we had seen up to this point.
Yes, it's very, very good. Just this level makes you feel that this is a game. It's kind of the turning point to make you feel like this game is going to be what makes or breaks me because of how difficult this has become now. This is not at all a walk in the park. At this point, you've got to run through so much, and yeah, they give you extra lives, but it's almost like an afterthought at this point. Like, yeah, sure, you've got an extra life, you can get a bunch of extra lives after this, but like, you're gonna go through all of them. Like, it's almost this feeling of like it's hopeless, But then you're what I think that I like it the most is it dumps you into this like basically what is a fun house of a level of a world with a forest of illusion, and like nothing ever makes sense, and so like it takes it in a different route from the difficulty, and takes it to like, oh, not only is it like difficult in like enemies and stuff, but it's also like level design is trickier. And figuring out how to get through these levels takes a lot more puzzle like solving and trying to find the secret exits and things like that. So it's going to be hard to do a really good episode on the Force Illusion without talking secrets. So it's going to be interesting to challenge to go through, and because you have to have secret exits to get through certain parts even. So
right. Well, back to Ludwig. I mean, by this point we should get to you should be at Ludwig by now.
Yes.
And just like the rest of his level, it's entirely different. It's a longer room. And my goodness, if you are a Dragon Ball Z fan, they may have been influenced by Dragon Ball Z for this, because bro is straight up Super Saiyan out the gate and he's shooting Kamehameha waves at you. Or just, he's shooting fireballs at you.
And this is classic, like Bowser, like chip off the old block, if anything, like blowing these giant fireballs at you. And it's worse is like, not only is he like blowing fireballs at you, but like he can do it off screen too.
Right.
Like you can't hit him. Like he's if you're small, you don't have to do anything. You just stand there because the fireballs don't hit you at all. So it's a pretty easy fight as long as you don't get hit by the fireballs. You jump on.
Yeah, he's not that complicated, but you are correct. But
he's definitely a reminiscent of the classic Bowser that you've come to know and fight. Just a little bigger fireballs. He's coming packing some punch for sure.
It's funny that you say that, because I think of I just think Super Dragon Ball Z. I mean, he's yellow. He's not normally yellow like that, is he?
I think that's his natural color. Like. Of all of them. I'm pretty sure that's his color theme.
Okay, well, he certainly looks Super Saiyan, that is for sure.
He may be super powered up with Power Star or something, but yeah. I did want to before like we finish out, like not only do you get a power up or do you get a bunch of extra lives potential, but you also can get power-ups and stuff. So like you're not going into this fight alone or unaided. It's just it's a lot.
It is a lot.
But yeah, you got to hit them the usual amount of times for the bosses in this game. Just keep on like, pounding away at his noggin, and you will be done in no time. Interesting enough, they don't give you like the spike walls in this fight that drop down, so he can go off screen. So if he's like snaking back and forth, you want to be really careful how you hit him, because he can spring out of view because he's not blocked by walls. He can be throwing those fireballs at you off screen, and he springs up really high arc and throws more fireballs. Once you hit him 3 times, like he does his usual, like any of the other enemies, stretches out really big to the front of the screen and then just like deflates and disappears into the background, kind of like a balloon losing all of its air.
Yeah.
I would say that the completion of this level is probably the best, though. The little like cutscene at the end, for what it is, it's hilarious. It actually changes the whole game, or at least the overworld in the process. So normally you have Mario like using something like hitting like a plunger to blow up something. Like this time he hits the plunger, and you're expecting it to blow up, and it actually rockets it off into the distance, like what is it, Korok style.
That's funny.
And off in the distance, and it actually hits the hill in the background, and puts it puts like a cross bandage over its head.
Yeah, that is.
It's hilarious. And then once you exit that stage with the victory, he says Ludwig von Koopa's days of composing Koopa symphonies in Castle Number 4 are over. The Forest of Illusion lies ahead. Mario must use his brain to solve the puzzles of the perplexing forest. And right when you come out of that level, the castle breaks down and the hill like changes and morphs to have that like bandage on its head the entire time, like the entire rest of the game. It's just so funny.
Yeah, it's a good little effect that they did there.
You're rewarded for the hardness that was this cheese or this double twin bridge level. Oh my goodness. And that takes us on into the Forest of Illusion, Mysterious,
which we'll save for next week. So we know this is a shorter episode, right around 40-ish minutes. Ryan, if you could do the honors of letting everyone know where they can find us.
Sure thing, man. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Pandora Podcasts, some limited episodes on YouTube. You can also join in our communities online at Facebook, at Nintendo NOS, on TikTok, Nintendo_NOS, X Twitter at Nintendo_NOS, Instagram at Nintendo_NOSIN. Shoot us an email at Nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can give us a call on our Nostalgia Hotline, share your memories, and show us some love at 317-969-5690. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening this week, and we will catch you next week. Later, Preston.
See you guys.